Footsteps echoed along the long stretching hallway as the prim figure dressed in full regimental fatigues strode purposely towards the three figures sitting in the distance. 2 guards flanked his person, their eyes fixed firmly straight ahead, and they walked rigidly until they stopped before the trio of soldiers.
"No talking,"
barked one of the guards as he stood over the escorted man as he took a seat in the corridor. The officer sat and nodded briefly towards his comrades, his face stern in appearance. The door to his left swung open, and from within the hidden room a small figure appeared and whispered instructions to the guards, whilst carefully eyeing the 4 men sitting in the corridor.
"Gentlemen,"
he cooed over them in unison as he walked between the chairs which pressed against the walls.
"this is how this will work."
He walked past the soldiers, then turned sharply on his heels and proceeded to move back towards the half-open door.
"You should be called to present evidence concerning the incident in question one at a time. Please answer all questions fully and as truthfully as possible. Now then, if we could begin, Brigadier." He smiled sweetly down at the seated officer as he spoke and waved towards the door. "If we could begin with you."
The room was long and a drab shade of white. The walls were adorned with various paintings of military officers or campaigns, with the far end decorated by a large bay window which overlooked the might of the River Thames. Small cabinets and tables fought for attention, with degrees of potted plants decorated over their tops, and small wreaths of paper littered various tables, neatly piled in small towers of files. At the far end of the room sat a large, long wooden table adorned with files, paper, glasses, and a decanter of water which sat on an elegant silver platter which gleamed as the sunlight from the window touched its reflective surface. Behind the desk sat 4 individuals, all dressed smartly in either full military attire or civilian clothing. The individual from the corridor walked and took his position at the table and neatly folded his hands together upon the hard wooden surface and nodded toward the figure at the center of the panel.
"Brigadier,"
said the elderly gentleman, who sat at the middle of the table, leaning back in his chair and watching as the Brigadier briskly stopped before them and saluted curtly at the small assembly of officials. His eyes looked back down towards a small sheaf of papers and deftly examined the words which scrawled across the documents.
"You know why you are here?"
It was more a statement than a question, as the officer finally looked back up towards the Brigadier.
"I do,"
confirmed the Brigadier as he looked towards the man.
"Have you anything to say before we start?"
"Only that myself and my men have done nothing wrong. We acted on information received and in all good faith in the protection of not just this country, but the world."
The officer nodded and smiled as he spoke.
"You have indeed acted nobly in the past, Brigadier, and your record is not in question. This issue is a matter of international delicacy."
He looked towards the man at the end of the table, close to the large bay window, and indicated towards the single chair which stood on the floor before the panel of men.
"If you will be so kind."
He smiled as he spoke, and the Brigadier did as he was requested, and sat, shuffling awkwardly on the stiff wooden seat. He waited patiently as he listened to the officer as he spoke.
"In accordance to Army Regulations, Disciplinary Proceedings Act 1968, Section 5, Article 7, Subsection 4B, this is an official review into unit actions within the Spanish Embassy on the night of...
Imbecilis mettonis a saretona mi persona et introducano una funzione privata. Ido priveto habituata sobre cessazione."
"Please, Ambassador, may we keep things civil?"
requested the officer politely.
Now, where was I?
He shuffled through his notes for a moment and looked at the Brigadier.
"Ah, yes. In attendance, we have UN Secretary Joseph Riley, Ambassador Alejandro Dominar, Major General Alexander Scobie, Sir John Sudbury, and myself, Field Marshal John Thatcher."
He paused as he looked around the table at his colleagues.
"Brigadier, if you could begin." "Ah, Captain Yates, you understand why you are here.
The same set of questions were offered to the unit officer as he entered the room and took a seat after his commanding officer had been escorted out. Yes, sir, offered Yates, promptly saluting towards the table.
Excellent. If you could take a seat and begin. Sergeant Benton, isn't it?
Asked Field Marshal Thatcher, checking the papers before him.
I remember serving with your father many years ago.
Benton stood staring before him, standing rigidly to attention.
Good man, as I recall. Please sit, and if you'll tell us the events up to and including the incident. Private Perkins,
called Thatcher.
If you could be so good to hurry, this tribunal does not have all day.
He waved at the chair before the table.
You were on duty on the day of the incident, and according to reports, you were included on the initial raid on the property.
Yes, sir, snapped Perkins.
Very good, ma'am. If you could start at the beginning.
Well, it's my duty to monitor incoming calls on that day, and I took one from a field agent confirming the location of this geezer called Master. I reported the incident to Miss Bell, who was being chatted up by Captain Yates.
Chatted up?
Yeah, word around the base is he's a bit of a ladies' man, ain't he? Mind you, I reckon the old Sarge gets more action, though.
We stick to the points, please, Private.
Sorry, sir. Anyway, I handed her a report, and she called it through his lips, the Brigadier.
Well, as I recall, I had just finished my briefing with the Secretary-General over the incident at the Newton Power Complex. I collected a series of reports from various agents in the field concerning the whereabouts of the criminal known as the Master.
Words trailed off for a moment as he looked about the room.
I'm sorry, sir, but for confidentiality reasons, I cannot be any more specific on the details of that.
It's quite all right, Brigadier. Please continue.
Anyway, I joined my scientific advisor and his personal assistant to relay all negative sightings of this individual, and I received a call from a particular agent on a suspected sighting within the London area. I promptly left and returned to my office to organise surveillance and arrest of the individual.
The Brigadier came into the office and requested that I attend an incident.
Am I right to believe, Captain, that this incident was the sighting of this Master?
Yes, that is correct, sir. We had a field report that a person closely resembling the description circulated was operating in the Chelsea and Kensington area.
Did you read the report?
Yes, sir. Actually, I was present when it was called in.
And in your opinion, was it accurate?
100%.
And what happened in this meeting?
The Brigadier ordered a small surveillance team to attend the vicinity until a small squad could be mobilised in the area.
Does this man warrant such action?
Yes, his attacks at Beacon Hill and Strangmore show the range he will and can go to cause his tyrannical control.
So between yourselves, you had formulated a plan to mobilise a military presence in the heart of a busy metropolis.
It has been done before. May I remind you of the International Electromatics incident or the Post Office Tower?
And may I remind you of your place, Captain? Please continue. Once you had left Denham,
I assembled the men in the yard and briefed them on the sensitive nature of our mission.
Into the centre of London?
Yes, sir.
Did that seem a trifle strange, Sergeant?
In my range of work, there's very little I would regard as strange, sir. All the men were instructed to wear civilian clothing for the nature of the mission so as not to scare the public.
Were you armed?
Only with small arms and light ammunition, sir. Then the Brigadier and Captain Yates joined us and we set off.
How many in total went on this mission?
Well, there were me and 3 others, the Sarge, Captain and Brigadier.
So once in London, can you tell the panel what happened next?
We separated in 3 parties and took positions across the area. I was with another private and we stationed ourselves close to Sloane Square.
So let me get this right. You had no commanding officer present at that point?
No, well, yes. Well, I mean, not exactly. We were in radio contact. They weren't far away. We are trained in surveillance.
We're not questioning your training, son, but you had no commanding officer present. Just answer yes or no.
No, thank you.
And you said you were stationed at
Sloane Square Tube Station, close to Chesham Place.
Near the embassy?
Yes, sir, near the Spanish embassy.
I took command of one patrol myself and headed with Captain Yates towards the Notting Hill area, while Sergeant Benton headed to Knightsbridge and Perkins took position close to Sloane Square Tube Station.
Didn't it concern you that you left one patrol with no officer in charge?
Not in the slightest. All of my men are trained to the highest standards of field operations.
But that decision led us here.
In hindsight, sir, I'd make the same decisions again. I took Captain Yates to Notting Hill because of his extensive knowledge of civilian procedure.
Wouldn't it be more prudent, then, to take one of the privates and leave Captain Yates at Sloane Square?
With respect, Captain Yates' experience in the field is only second to my own, and I believed he'd be best served at my side. Private Perkins was instructed to remain in a fixed position while the other units all patrolled.
What did you find in Notting Hill?
Nothing.
Nothing, Captain.
There was no sign of the suspect in the area.
And how did that make you feel?
I'm sorry, sir, I don't understand the question.
Did it make you feel angry, frustrated?
No, sir, it's just another day, another mission. In our line of duty, we follow suspected leads every day. Sometimes they lead to unusual activity, while other days they lead to...
Nothing?
Yes, sir.
But surely, given the particular case, there must have been some kind of frustration.
Of course there was, but I am a professional.
So you just sat there and decided to retreat?
No, we decided to patrol another area, and we were discussing that when we got the call.
Knightsbridge was full of shoppers and sightseers, but no master.
How did you patrol the area, Sergeant? Surely in such an area where it could not have been easy to see everything by car.
On foot. I've had experience before at foot patrol in the capital, which was why the Brigadier asked me to lead the patrol through the busy area.
Would you have expected the master to be in such an area? I mean, he's hardly going to go shopping at Harrods, is he?
With respect, sir, has been seen in central London before. Westminster, the Chinese embassy.
All right, you made your point, Mr. Benton. What exactly happened when you received the call?
We saw him, that master guy. He was standing right there in front of us, as bold as you like, larger than life he was, with his pointy little beard and beady eyes, with that black suit of his on, right there in front of the bloody station.
You sure it was the suspect?
Yeah, well, at the time I were, he said, glancing towards the Spanish ambassador at the end of the table. I mean, no offence, but he does kind of look like him, don't he?
Non mi viola si gestare imposta,
Roared the ambassador.
Please, Senor Domina, if you could control your temper.
The ambassador flashed an angry glance down the table and nodded reluctantly and took a deep breath. Anyway, he crossed the road and walked down past our car. I radioed his nibs like and got out and followed him until he stopped me by a building at
Chesham Place, said the Brigadier. The Spanish embassy.
So you decided to enter and apprehend the suspect?
Of course not. Not immediately. We stationed our vehicles around the area, while I ordered intel of all personnel within the premises.
Which were?
We received intelligence that an individual matching the description of the master, and going by the name of Dominar, was presently within the building.
And this didn't strike you as normal?
No, sir. As you are aware, Dominar is Spanish for master, and matches current trends in his disguised names.
It is hardly evidence enough to mount a raid on the premises.
If the master was inside, his presence could have led to massive international repercussions. I decided we could not let this opportunity pass.
When the Brigadier ordered the attack on the embassy, what did you think, Captain?
I thought it was the correct course of action. The only thing I disagreed with would be the timing.
Explain.
I would have gone straight to him, but the Brigadier wanted to wait until we were sure the target was still inside, and as many civilians had left the premises to reduce the threat of potential injuries to the public.
So you just waited until the evening?
Yes, sir. I'm used to long drawn-out surveillance duties.
As you previously stated, Sergeant.
We watched until around 2100 hours before moving into position.
How did you know there was no one inside?
We didn't. We had to take the risk. People came and went all evening, so the Brigadier decided we couldn't risk letting the master slipping away in the melee.
At no point did you realise that a party was happening on the night in question?
Our only thought was the apprehension of the suspect.
So you stormed the building?
It wasn't quite like that.
Then what was it like?
Oh, wow, it was well exciting, said Perkins enthusiastically. I've never been on an actual field mission before. I mean, I'm normally stationed at HQ. I missed Wendymore, Beacon Hill and Newton, so I couldn't believe I was actually here and we would arrest this geezer.
Please, Private, could you calm down?
Sorry, sir, I mean, it was so exciting, or at least I thought it would be. We just sort of sat there and hung around for hours until the old man gave the order to move forward into position.
Upon entry to the property, we were informed by security that a banquet was in progress to celebrate inauguration of the new ambassador. I informed the security personnel the nature of our intrusion and the sensitivity over the situation. They directed us to the reception area, where the ambassador was hosting his guests.
We split up and mingled in the crowd, keeping a close watch for the suspect.
The Mark entered from the main doors and walked across the floor. I identified the suspect and called the Brigadier.
You should have seen it. There were fancy trays of food, little shells of fish paste, stuffed little nibbles, and this silver tray with small golden balls all piled up in a pyramid. Anyway, I could see the brig and the captain moving toward the master through the crowd. I joined Sergeant Benton and moved across the floor close to the suspect. I could see the Brigadier and Benton move close to the master.
I joined the Brigadier and moved behind the Mark on his order.
The old man stood in front of the bloke.
I confronted the suspect.
I could see the Brigadier interacting with the Master.
While the Brigadier was talking to him, I moved in behind the suspect.
And bam! The Sarge grabbed the geezer around the neck and brought him down with a chokehold. He struggled, but the Sarge was too strong for him. They both crashed through a table full of food and drinks.
Sergeant Benton apprehended the suspect and we proceeded to leave the building and return to Unit HQ.
And at no point did you think this was not your man?
No. We were clear in our duty and our intention, and at the time, we had believed we had the suspect in custody.
So thank you, Brigadier. I think we have enough. If you could leave and return to your post so we can review the evidence and make our decision.
The Brigadier rose from his seat and strode across the room. Pausing at the door and turning, he saluted the 5 figures behind the table and moved silently into the corridor.
Gentlemen,
Stated Field Marshal Thatcher to his colleagues.
I think we have enough to go on. If we could come to a solution on the best way to handle this.
His next words were missed as the figure clad in black closed the briefcase on his lap and chuckled to himself as he tapped on the glass from the back of the car.
Oh, Brigadier, I wish I could have seen your face.
Laughed the Master as the car pulled away from the old building with the echo of laughter ringing in the air.